So the preface, the last thing Nemo just said, let's talk about this bullshit, I think is an accurate segue into what has happened the past, 5 weeks? 5 weeks that we
Yeah,
missed.
it's been a minute since we talked to each other, but yeah, it's a lot of stuff has happened. We broke the seal on the trade market that just kind of took everything. It was a wild Saturday morning. It was a lot of text messages and phone calls that morning.
I don't recall in recent memory being that panicked for something that you shouldn't care about that much, that you realize this is the only thing I care about.
Yeah,
right
I was on a hike with Patty that morning with the dogs, and I was like going on my phone. She's like, "First of all, how do you have signal up here? And what are you talking about with everybody?" And I'm like, it's madness. I'm like, this is just madness. I'm like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but yeah.
Well, let's see if we can condense and synthesize the chaos that happened. I don't even know where to start when it
Well,
comes to this.
let's talk about that trade stuff a little bit, and then we'll dive into the crazy matchups and standings, all that crap. But we gotta talk about these trades a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just
Well,
there was more. There was more.
I feel like this is like a bad dream that I concocted in my head that actually happened. So on a previous podcast, we talked about trading draft picks, and it looks like this was taken to heart.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about this, before we get into all the horrible, shitty things that are about to await us next year, is that it sparked creativity, it sparked action. This kind of stuff that should be happening throughout the course of the season, all of a sudden, when the feet are to the fire a little bit, you realize, holy shit, I can do this stuff whenever I want. Like this, just because it all fell on, this particular day and, this particular deadline. It's like when there's a foul call in the last 2 seconds of a close basketball game. It's like, if this happened in the first quarter, nobody would have cared. It's like, oh, okay, someone traded a first round pick. But let's go through some of the deals that happened. And Nemo, why don't you take the lead here?
Well, I mean, our first deal was for Aaron Jones. It was for a third round pick, giving back an eighth, which I mean, I guess that's like kind of, we want to call it reasonable. I mean, we don't really have a baseline for this, but it seemed like, all right. I mean, I talked to Pasha about this. Like, we're discussing it. Like, if you look at it, around the fourth round is when like the certainty goes away, and you're dealing with more like who you like and where all that kind of stuff is coming from, and more like total bad players and stuff like that at that point. So we're like, all right, third round, we're discussing it. That's kind of crazy. But I mean, if you look at the next trade, I was discussing something similar with Amir. I was trying to get Kirk Cousins from him, and I was offering. I'm like, best I can do is I wanted Kirk Cousins and Jamar Chase. Actually, I was trying to get it for a third.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I got something else working. And all of a sudden, that's how that go through. I'm like, well. And by the way, you're getting Pacheco in that trade was a complete throw in. You didn't even want him, and he's turned into a real player. Let's just talk about that too a bit.
The tide at that point was kind of turning, if I remember correctly, and it just had that feel where, if I throw Dylan in, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. If I throw Dylan in,
Aren't we all?
it's not someone, yeah, right. It's not someone who is just like an automatic bench, but they're pretty comparable players at that point. And now, yeah, he's taken over the backfield, and it paid off. And to me, giving up a fourth rounder to secure a quarterback that wouldn't be there in the fourth round of a typical draft, that felt like the move that I needed to make. And I was like, okay, I'm prepared for this. I'm good with this. And then
the seal broke.
Then all hell broke loose, and the first button was pushed by one of the superpowers, and everyone started firing nukes.
Yeah, I mean, the V broke the seal with the first round picks and got Diggs, which is a very interesting trade at this point because Wong has ass backwards walked into a potential playoff spot if he gets the right things happen this week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a first round pick and make the playoffs, it's pretty, that's a real interesting point about strategy at that point, if you're taking a shot. And then things just got weird. And then you got Devin making a trade for Saquon, first round pick. Then you got the real big one. It's the Devontae Adams and Jonathan Taylor for a first from Jordan. Jordan collecting, another first round pick. So Jordan has 3 first round picks next year.
We need to revisit. Continue your thought.
Yeah. And then at that point, if you go to and then, Jose and I made like a random trade, for the Tom Brady 4th round pick, which I wasn't one to give up any much more than that. And I was giving up Carr on the trade. So it was just, fine. Yep. Then this monstrosity tried to go through the Jamar Chase for Devin giving up his 2nd round pick Devin was basically throwing away next year,
completely.
Yeah. For a chance this year.
I guess it's the old adage, one in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, but going deeper into this, first of all, I still maintain that you should have just pushed this trade through. I think that you reap what you sow at this point. Buyer's remorse is a real thing. And all of a sudden you just realize what you did after the fact, right? I still think it should have gone through.
It was so unprecedented. Yeah. It was so unprecedented. I called him and I'm like, Devin, you sure you know what you're doing? And I'm like, first and 2nd round pick. If you tell me next year, well, I don't want to do it, I wouldn't blame you. But then I can't sell the team. So I need you to pay for the league. And I think that's what kind of threw him off.
So you're juggling all these groundbreaking transactions that are happening within an hour of each other, basically. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, whatever you want to call it, felt like an hour. Yeah. We now have my buddy Joe, who was on the pod previously. He's like, the balance of power has shifted. and now the thing that is cool is that, Jordan's team next year, like, he's got something really to look forward to. Yeah. And you have 3 first round picks. Your first round can go any direction you want at that point. And I just don't think people realized what that means when it's an arms race trying to keep up for this year, trying to make playoffs. And now, I mean, for better or worse, Pasha made a trade and now there's no guarantee that he's going to make playoffs. He's right on that cusp spot. Now he doesn't have a third.
He wins, he's in.
He wins, he's in.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you lose, you don't make the playoffs. Now you feel pretty, well, no, there goes my 3rd rounder, that shifts your whole draft strategy.
Yeah.
And you look at Jordan's team and think about what that would have meant for this year. Just having, 3 first rounders could have gone any number of ways, to be perfectly honest. I mean, someone like Jonathan Taylor didn't necessarily pan out. So it's not like it's a death sentence for all the other teams because there's first round talent available in 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. But damn, this just feels like all of a sudden we've lifted up Thanos and said, hey, go do your thing, man.
Yeah. I mean, Wong has 2. So those 2 guys are going to own 5 of the 10 best players in the league, potentially, if you want to call it that way. And it's going to be interesting. Like, I mean, I think I've thrown out there in some of the text messages and stuff like that. I have a lot of conversations that I'm going to have to figure out kind of how to manage this for this next season. Like, this season kind of went out of control, but discussing like no draft picks trade after like week 6 or 7, maybe 8 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you can't get so teams can't like just fall apart. Different ways. Maybe you can't trade anything higher than like a 3rd or a 4th round pick. Just different ways to kind of manage it. So it's not like throwing away next season and not letting people like, drive themselves crazy.
Right.
But it's definitely interesting and fun. And it keeps people engaged for the next year, which is kind of a whole new thing.
The difficulty is exactly what you just said. It's like there was this massive amount of engagement where we typically would have had probably a dead spot. Yeah. Like everyone would have there might have been some loose deal and, then we just kind of limp through the trade deadline. But this prompted activity. It prompted something. But yeah, if you maybe up until week 6, you can kind of do whatever what you think is right, what you feel is right.
Mhm.
Maybe then through the final trade deadline, like you said, it's nothing before round 4, and you find that balance of teams quote unquote looking to tank, or whatever you want to do, gear up for next year. But since it's a weekly game, you really have to fuck up the draft to be in a
Yeah.
position to keep trading for draft picks. And as we've seen, the perfect, you call it the perfect storm or example or whatever you want to call it, but Devin's team shit the bed after all these pickups the following week. And so there's no guarantee that someone in a top spot is going to maintain that top spot by simply having all the players on the list. You get rain games, you get shut down corners, you get people like, you get a quarterback who's off their game. We had multiple quarterbacks who got hurt within the first 10 minutes of their game last week. Like, you never kind of know in a weekly game. And when you throw away something that's certain, like your pick, for something uncertain, that to me is like a whole other level of fantasy sports.
And the whole league made a draft pick trade, like every single member of the league. So the whole draft is kind of like, it's gonna be really interesting how to input it next year. It's gonna be all over.
Fun.
It's gonna be really all over the place.
And in a way, it's almost gonna, you almost are gonna kind of determine your draft strategy and where you want to pick based off of the picks you just gave up.
Yeah, like if you gave up your first round pick, now you have to take like a home run swing in the second, third, or fourth round versus like another side. Like, will Jordan take 2 quarterbacks in the first round and kind of change the whole quarterback? Will he not take a quarterback and go 3? Like, what? There's so many different ways you can kind of go with it. So, but I'm just saying, like, imagine this year, like he used that strategy and he picked like CMC, Lamar Jackson and Cooper Kupp. Like, where's, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
true.
It's really true. Where does that put you? So it's obviously you could write it however you want, but it's really interesting. It's gonna be really interesting how people draft next year for sure.
I will say this though, it was, once the lunacy was just running rampant, I was laughing and having so much fun just watching what was happening. I know you were stressing out about how to control,
it was fun too.
About how to control the integrity of the league, and you handled it really well, by the way, just so you know.
That.
Because like it or not, we're all competitive and we all care, even if we say we don't care, but after a certain point, it's like, dude, what if the league was like this every single week? Like, this would be so insane. This is so crazy. And, I'm just looking at my phone. I'm texting people. It almost like spawned this whole other chain reaction in other leagues. People like, I was texting Matt Schmidt, people who are no longer involved. Like, you'll never believe what's going on right now. And, people who care enough and like had a vested enough interest to understand the situation were like, holy shit, what do you do? Because if it's not a dynasty league, if it's a pure redraft league every year, this is a game changer. Dynasty, yeah, you can toy with this and you can kind of pick and choose. And there's a lot of reasons to lobby for dynasty. We can't do it next year, but when it comes to a redraft league every single year, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, how far do you go in the future? Like, now is it like, we're gonna trade draft picks on draft day? Are we gonna like, like where could it go? You know what I mean? So it's a really interesting thing. I mean, I will say it seems like Phil put the best team together on paper. Phil and Armin, I should say, that on paper looks like the best team. But I mean, they haven't broken 200 the last 2 weeks. So it's just a trade. So is
that right here?
No, it's Dax, my homies. This is Wong, who's trying to walk ass backwards into it. He has the most fun matchups of the week. Him and Jose versus him versus Jose, and then Pasha's playing Gridiron. So
some really fun matchups right here.
Yeah.
But I agree. I lost.
As Jose would say, this is like a daily fantasy team. In a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, this one hurts. And look who's on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, Kamara's been a ghost the last like 4 weeks, but I mean, that's a different story. But I mean, he's got a lot of names, got a lot of players. So it's managing that. But he's got some players on bad teams. and
Mhm.
it's how they manage it, in those weeks and stuff like that. And we have a bye this week, which is really weird. So we're going to get affected by a bye in the last week. So
Yeah. Seems like really critical players are out this week.
Mhm.
But oh man, so yeah, this team, I agree, not one you want to see on the other side. And then the team I just played, Gridiron, I was like, he lost his quarterback and he still went over 200.
Yeah,
And I don't quite
he dropped half
know.
his seal. He has no team right now. Look at that. That's interesting.
It's a
I
bold
wanted it on the
strategy,
waiver
Cotton.
wire with no money.
Right.
Yeah.
But, all of a sudden, Fields is a whole different player. The
Yeah.
dynamic that he brings has changed the course of fantasy sports.
But he doesn't have him this week. And a
It's
fucking
true.
huge week.
It's true.
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs, oh my God.
Disgusting.
The did I say
Yeah,
did I say
he put a huge dent in Jose's fantasy season.
did I send you the Interstellar the meme where it's like
Oh
me
yeah.
me
Not picking
watching
Josh. Yeah, you
myself
said it to me.
draft
Picking
Chase
Josh
Edmonds
Jacobs.
over Josh Jacobs. I mean, this guy, he's keeping him single-handedly in the hunt every single week.
Yeah.
I mean, this is absurd.
I had my chance to get him a few times. I kept saying, I'm like, you can't keep this up. You can't keep this up. I wanted no more Raiders in my life.
Yeah.
So, but I
lot
could
of
have had
people feel that
Devontae
way.
Adams too at one point, and I didn't do that trade, and that could have been a game changer for me too. But you know what it is.
Man, Adams he started just ripping people apart.
Let's go to the matchups this week. I mean, let's go to the standings, and then we'll go to the matchups this week.
So standings, we've got 5 in, 1 spot available.
As
And
always,
so
Pasha's hanging on by a thread.
typical Pasha, great move. Pasha wins, he's in. And then we need not only like a win, but big scores from
7 and 8 play each other, so they need Pasha to lose, and then if Pasha loses, the winner of that matchup is it.
and he's going against a team that is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel to fill out a roster right now.
This week. He doesn't have he's not his best player because
right.
Fields has been his best player him and Jacob have been his best player the last few weeks.
Yeah. Man, what a setup. Look at this.
Wong walked backwards into a draft pick to his playoff spot last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
on the
won
last
the whole thing,
week,
right?
Routed one. Yeah. So.
Oh man, that was the biggest blowout. That's disappointing.
Devin and I are the buys. That's set either way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just basically matchups at this point between everybody. So
three. If this held,
go to the playoffs, the little playoff thing right there.
Yeah. So I'd play Pasha's team, Dax versus Gridiron. This is a bloodbath right here.
Yeah, that's a good matchup.
This is absolutely like you almost don't want the 1 seed if that's the case, but you can't predict.
Yeah.
But now it's like,
there's a good chance Gridiron loses, and then I don't know how that works if you win, and then it's all over the place, or you lose or you win. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. How good did it feel to beat Devin last week, though?
Devin's team's gross, though.
It's
like the last 10 fighters in Last Samurai that you're proud of them, but there's nothing left.
There's no fight. Well, there's fight, but there's nothing.
Look at Josh Allen's come back down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
So look at that, like 20s and 17s, and look at that, not in the fucking 50s anymore.
It's true. And the Bills are what? They're 8 and something.
8 and 4.
9 and 3.
9 and 3.
So is that gas pedal gonna,
Dolphins are right behind them, but I mean, it's definitely he didn't miss games for injury, which he's lucky with, but it's definitely that's why where they're playing cold weather games now, snow, the game kind of changes a little bit. So it's interesting how it's going to work out, but he got nothing from Deshaun Watson last week.
Yeah, and it seems like he keeps kind of getting by with 2 players that really carry him through, and that's not going to compete against the teams that made different moves. Like, to be perfectly honest, it's it kind of becomes math and matchups at that point.
Would Jamar Chase have made a difference for Devin this? I mean, he only played this week, so would that trading for Jamar Chase would have made a huge difference for him by now? No, he'd be in the same position.
I don't think so. I think he'd probably be right where he is. That's brutal.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically a cakewalk. I mean, look at that. I saw that earlier. I'm like, how do you not see that coming a little bit? Like, just look ahead, Jordan.
You didn't see this
is the guy
coming?
with 3 first-round picks. So that's our saving grace. Is this guy? This guy with 3 first-round picks has how many buys is that right there? 7, 8?
There has to be some type of penalty if Devin loses. I'm just floating it out there. I think that
he has no money, so he has to pick up some like random people who he can find and put a team together. Tyler Reggio's still out there for some reason. Your big pick.
It's true. Yeah,
he's made some decent pickups. His team isn't horrible.
No,
but
oh man, what a brutal buzzsaw right here. That sucks.
He probably hasn't even seen that yet.
Jordan, are you paying attention?
Yeah, he probably hasn't even seen that yet.
All right, so the matchups are set. Probably couldn't be more interesting matchups to write them in if you had to.
Yeah.
High drama from 8 to 5 right here, because it is going to matter like who is the 6th seed. It's going to matter who makes playoffs. Oh man, this is why
I think Posh is going to. I think Posh is going to win. I don't see David winning without Fields. I just don't see it.
You're absolutely right.
So I think Pasha takes it. Yeah, I think that's going to happen personally. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So I'm going to say, let's see, 229. What is, does Josh have a big buy too?
He doesn't have Heineke and Mariota. He needs a quarterback. If there's a lot of things that need a quarterback. There's not that many quarterbacks out there. So some teams are going to have to play no quarterback.
Not ideal. But
or one quarterback, I should say.
That's the name of the game right there. So there you go. Yeah, I still can't believe how this is shaking out right now. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good. I mean, I'm not sure if you had to pick a team right now to win it, who would you pick? Who's the favorite?
I mean, honestly, Dax. I mean, this team
he has the best team on paper. Yeah. Yeah, you got to give it to him.
It's the best team. I mean, if you didn't know this, you can go into opponents and you can kind of see what their schedule looks like upcoming. And I mean, it's not great, but I know that Walker got banged up, right?
Yeah, he got hurt, so I'm not sure.
But he's gonna have people back after the bye. And I mean, if you had Kamara, Taylor, Kelsey, you'd be like, oh shit, I've got a loaded team.
Look at Kamara's numbers, Andy. You seen it?
I mean, maybe he's just saving the juice. Like, we know it's in there. We know he's got something.
They're going to buy. They lose again. He may not play again.
It's true.
Or they're going to play other guys. Like he has a few guys like that, like Montgomery and like Taylor. If they lose again, like why would they play Taylor?
Why risk it?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, you see what you have in other guys and stuff like that. I'm not going to give him 25 carries,
right?
So he has a few guys like that. So
on paper, this is the team to beat to me. I mean, just flat out. But I feel like you always beg, borrow, and deal, Nima. I feel like with a strong season like this, you've always been on that like 5 to 7 cusp, and you always like creep in. Usually, I know you've had some big years too, but this year just feels like you're on cruise control and you've just got it dialed in. You're just kind of, hey,
I like my squad.
I'll just take another win.
I like my squads. I think I got a pretty good team together.
This is a nice pickup. You got hurt too.
But I like my Garrett Wilson was better, I think.
Yeah, he's one of those like transient people who like, I remember I had him at some point in here, and I had one like these 2 games or one like this game. I was like, ugh, this guy stinks. the quarterback situation was
It was
dire, but
Zach Wilson. Zach
man,
Wilson was the problem.
look at all these targets. Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Guaranteed touches. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened with. I mean, I like my team. I think. Look, Dak has the best team, but I think if he lost in the first round of the playoffs, it wouldn't surprise me.
Interesting. There you go.
It wouldn't solve because I mean, it's a lot of. He needs big games from Mahomes and Kelsey, and
Yeah.
those get harder to come by as it gets colder.
Especially when aren't the Chiefs running away with the AFC West?
They don't have to play them as much.
So that, I mean, all of a sudden they go up 3 scores. You get people pulled in the third quarter. This shit matters. And I know between fantasy football and fantasy basketball, I know how much these little stats and these little dinkers and dunkers matter. I thought of something. It was such a fantasy football thought. And it was the end of the first half of the Eagles game. And Devonta Smith just caught that little dump off and then just picked up like 40 yards. And I'm like, that's a fucking 40-yard catch in our league. Like, this means nothing.
Well, like Brady's touchdown at the end, I had Brady and Rashad White. So imagine like Monday night with 3 seconds left and you're down like 10 points and that's the only way you get that touchdown. Like, I didn't need it, but it was just like, man, that's like backbreaking. That's like Schmidt leaves the league because he lost Monday night so many times in a row.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. It's the Jeffy effect.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Well, all right. So I'm going to say that somehow, some way, you play Phil's team in the finals, and it's going to be Rocky versus Drago. Nobody knows.
I hope I'm Rocky. It's my favorite.
Everyone wants to be Rocky.
No, that's good. It's exciting. Yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. But it's gonna be. I'm always watching other matchups right now. It's really fun to watch. I feel bad for a few people who's had some. Amir had a really tough season. Josie's had a couple bad losses. That he lost like 133 to 129 to Devin like in week 11, and that was just disgusting on many fronts.
Yeah, it's easy to kick yourself on like the shouldas and couldas and wouldas when you lose by so few, and you see the waiver wire guy still sitting there go off for 24 points. And you're like, God damn it! Like, I was mowing this person over. The matchups made sense for the other person, and it becomes kind of a chess game. And I know that throughout the course of time, I dig deeper into articles than I probably should. Like, I think it was last year I read the Fantasy Pros primer every single week. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'll read this. Oh, yeah, let's start this guy against the slot corner because he's got a 88% catch give up rate, and it's fun to get granular with it. But at the end of the day, you're so out of control when it comes to, you don't know what the coach's mindset is. You don't know how the players feel that day. I mean, pretty much all of us played sports, and there are days when you just didn't want to be there and you're just like, fuck it, whatever. My team can carry me here. I don't need to do this. And so many times we've probably yelled at the TV, just care, just fucking care. Like, how do you drop that? And, this is where it's super fun. I do feel really fortunate. There is something so gratifying about getting the star next to your name. I know that once it's there, you're just like, I did it. I did something really special here, but I know how it feels to be in these trenches right here. And it's not fun. You are going to over scrutinize every single person you put in, whether they're a stud or whether you just picked them up, and you're going to talk yourselves in and out of things so many times. Oh, it's brutal.
One last question for you. What are you going to do at quarterback?
Oh God. Fucking Lamar. So I do have multiple bids in on multiple.
The fact that no one has money is hilarious. Like,
I know.
I wonder like what you guys are doing and this and that. And like, I just wanted to bid like $8 on DJ Dallas just to like, just to say, make sure I get him. But then like, is Walker going to play? Is DJ Dallas hurt? So who knows?
I personally think there would be something comically hilarious about Amir just dropping 4 people and picking and buying 4 quarterbacks. Like,
oh my God, just screwing the rest of the league up. That'd be so good. That's such a good move. I know he's still listen to this. That would just be really funny to just fuck everybody over for just take everybody that you need because everyone needs a quarterback this week.
Because then in a way, it's like it's kind of an even playing field and everyone's fucked. But you have $71 left. The next person has like 8. And it's
who's out there right now? It's probably like, what's it like? It's not much.
No, it's like Kyle Allen, it's Mac Jones, it's Huntley, it's Brock Purdy.
Someone's picking up Brock Purdy. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah, out of pure necessity.
Yeah,
dude.
Darnold.
I'm literally.
Is it Mayfield?
I'm literally considering picking up Baker Mayfield.
Baker's going to start this week, right? Yeah,
that's how dire it is. Oh, Devin's pick to click right here. Johnny Wolf.
Dude, that's Devin's guy. No one can have him. I'm going to make sure he's on Devin's team. I'm going to put him on Devin's team.
Man, commissioner override. Just give it to him.
That's good. All right. Let's see what happens. We'll be interested tomorrow.
It is the dregs of society that we're facing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see
really
someone pick up like Perkins, to see someone pick up someone that.
So Jordan needs 2 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You need a quarterback. David needs 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, he lost Garoppolo and Fields is injured.
Yeah.
So that's 5 right there. So and I'm sure someone else needs it. Jose needs a quarterback too.
Dude. So go back to the Brissett show. Fucking, it's so weird watching Deshaun Watson play right now. I have to be honest. It just feels odd. Like Julia is a huge Browns fan, but rooting for him is like your whole legacy is just tainted. I
discussed it with my brother-in-law. I'm like, why don't you just get a hooker at that point? Like, why need to do this? Like, why? But
I'm purely befuddled at the like psychological damage that he's undergone to do such things. But it's at the end of the day, it's hard not to believe that it's just like it's a pro power move. It's like I can do this, so I'm going to.
So okay, you discussed that one, and look, I'm probably gonna get canceled for this, but like the Spurs one, did you guys hear about the Spurs guy, Josh Primo, who exposed himself 9 times to the same therapist? Like, is she surprised on turn 5 and 6 and 7, like 4? Like, stop seeing the guy. Like, what? Like, it's just happening every time.
You can fire patients, right? I mean, for whatever reason. And if you felt that your safety or
9 times,
like you were in danger here, I mean, we can't speak to the nature of the meeting or the situation or anything. Like, we have literally no clue. We know what the media has presented to us. We know that you've got a remorseful kid, and then you have this person who is suing them. And it's like, well,
no, they settled down. It's over.
Oh, they settled. But you're right. You know, if you and I were just sitting there and like your penis popped out, I'd be like, dude, your dick's out. Like,
and would you do this? And if maybe you might do this with me one more time, and the second time you're like, well, you must take his dick out again. I'm not going to do this anymore. It's weird.
Can't be by accident.
The 9th time, you're expecting it. Like, she's like, a 9th time, like, it's just a weird thing. So
that's when, what's that? What are those lumberjack boxer briefs that like had all those commercials going on where it's like the comfiest briefs? Then I just send you the briefs, and if somehow your wiener pops out again, I'm not coming over again.
Like Deshaun Watson, like this is your 26th massage therapist in the last 2 months. Like, what's happening, dude? Like, what are you doing?
Something is just.
But yeah, wrong. I mean, go throw a football. Like, go for it. Like,
yeah, and you know he's still figuring things out, and I get it, and yeah, but man, it's so hard to watch him play.
And it hurts Chubb too.
Yeah, because his ineffectiveness just stacks the box, and
Cooper, who has on Dak's team, so he has to like kind of maneuver that.
That's when it becomes personal. That's when you realize you're like, hey, they're trying to screw me over in fantasy football. How many times have you thought that? Where it's like, dude, they pulled this guy to screw me. I know they did this.
There was one a couple of weeks ago where I hate Matt Ryan with all my heart, like everything I have. Like, I refuse. And
Matty
I started him like 3 weeks ago, and I lost to Pasha. And afterwards, during the game, I'm like, what the fuck did I do this? Like, I hate Matt Ryan. Like, I knew, like, I wouldn't pick receivers on the Falcons before. I didn't want anything to do with Matt Ryan or him having anything to do with my success. And I started him and I lost. I was like, I'm so stupid. So,
Josh Jacobs was one of those people. I'm like, I don't want any part of him at all.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah. All right,
there
dude.
You go.
All right, dude.
Well, there you go. So I think I stopped it. So monster trade deadline.
Yeah.
Lots of savvy / Hail Mary moves upcoming. And another exciting finish to the greatest league ever, it appears.
Yeah.
We do have 2 heavyweight contenders sitting atop. I mean, record speaks for itself. They keep winning games, whether it's matchups, whether it's points against, it doesn't matter. Nima and Devin have really taken the crown for the league, but I still feel that there's a better built team on paper. So final thought for what the playoffs will hold.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna be watching the matchups this week. I'm not happy about going on a bye, honestly, because it's good you miss a week, but it's like you said, like you feel like you go cold.
Your players get rusty.
And I was like looking at it, I'm like, oh, week 15 doesn't matter. Like, oh, I don't like that. Like, I have to go look at week 16, and it's like it's not my favorite. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I'm pumped for it, and then I'm just more interested to see how the draft works next year. Honestly, I'm kind of looking ahead.
I got like clammy hands later that day thinking about someone with 3 first-round picks. I'm like, this, you can't prepare for whatever it is Jordan is going to do. Like, he can't prepare for it. He's not really going to know. I mean, if you have 1, 2, 9, it's different than if you have 3, 4, 6. And so it's just, it's uncharted waters. It's literally sailing out somewhere you've never been and hoping for the best. So none of us know what the league's going to look like next year. And that is kind of exciting. It's not going to be formulaic. It's going to be something completely new, which is, I think, the genius of how the league continues to evolve.
Before we go, let's congratulate Andy on his lovely little baby girl that's going to be joining his family. So
baby pizza girl.
Baby pizza girl. So let's congratulate him and Julia on that.
Thank you, buddies. I appreciate that.
And then, we'll see everybody. We'll do one more of these before the season's over. We'll do at least one more of these.
I think we'll need one either pre-semifinals or pre-finals. So I'm there.
Fair. Yeah. At least probably pre-finals to kind of recap the playoffs and see how it all went. It should be interesting.
Absolutely. Maybe we can bring on some of the losers who have been vanquished, because at that point there will only be 2 people standing. So it could be fun.
I agree. Hope it's me and you.
But hey, little girls aren't free. That money will go a long way.
All
right, guys. We love you. We hate you. Best of luck, and absolutely no luck to all of you.
Mm-hmm.